everyone. So it is the crack of dawn out here, but we have hit a milestone on our journey and we actually completed a month on the road. So this is our first month on the road traveling with horses full time. It has definitely been an adventure. I've definitely learned a lot already. There's been some really overwhelming things, and then there's been some really fun things. So one of the overwhelming things is definitely the budget and managing our finances. One reason Colin and I originally set out on this journey, I mean, there's many different reasons, but one is to kind of live a more simple life and not feel like caught up in consumerism and the rat race and things like that, which, we still need to figure out how to wean ourselves off of that. But anyway, I wanted to share my budget with you. I wanted to share how this first month went. Looking at the numbers, we definitely spent more than we wanted to, but I also think we were able to learn along the way and say, okay, well, this is going to cost us a lot more money compared to if we do this. So first of all, let me just walk you through the lifestyle in case, some of you have missed the journey that we've been on. So it's me and my husband. We live in a LQ horse trailer, which is this. So it's just a horse trailer that has a living cabin in the front. And so that's what I'm in right now. We have a diesel truck. That is a big factor because diesel is a lot of money. We got a tiny little dog that goes with us. And then we have 2 horses. Luckily, I have 2 small horses. They're both ponies. They're about 13 hands tall. So luckily, they take a lot less resources than a normal horse. When you camp with horses, the biggest thing is you are usually going to have to pay per horse. So since we have 2 horses, we are paying double the money for 1 horse. And then when it comes to the LQ horse trailer, this thing can hook up like an RV, so we can hook up into electric and sewer and water. It's cheaper to not do that and to do primitive. So those are some big factors that we have learned. I'm going to share just the total number of what we spent, and then I'll break it down for you. And this number hurts me. So overall, our first month from September 2nd to October 2nd, we spent $4,014, which is a lot. We don't want to spend that much. That said, this was our first month, and so, I think it was a good ease into the trip. We did things a little bit more liberally in order to just adapt to the lifestyle. So for example, we stayed the majority of the time at private campgrounds, so owned by an individual or a family. And usually these campgrounds have the hookups, they have better horse facilities, and they are going to be more expensive. So out of the entire month, we only spent 2 nights at a state park campground, which was $15 a night. So we could definitely do better on that front. Overall, for our camping total, to camp each night, we spent $1,802. So that is like the biggest aspect of our budget. I will say after the state camp, which was $15 a night, then the majority of the time we are over $55 a night. So that is where we could definitely cut back. We could stay at more state park campgrounds or like national forest campgrounds and things like that. The only thing about like government campgrounds is they are usually great. Everyone I've seen is very well maintained. It's more so a lot of times you will just be primitive camping, which is one thing. And we are set up to primitive camp. We have a generator, we can run and get water. We have a water tub in the back of our truck. Biggest thing is I just don't feel comfortable leaving the horses. So at all times, one of us has to be with the horses, and that's perfectly fine. We just need to like mentally prepare ourselves for that. But when you're at a private campground, you can kind of like come and go as you please. Like right now, we are in Ohio, and so we are going to the Cedar Point amusement park for Colin's birthday. So that's just an example, a perk of staying at a private campground. So I think instead of staying like all month at private campgrounds, if we stayed like 1 week at a private campground and then stayed the rest of the weeks at a government campground, we could save a lot of money that way. So our camp total was $1,800. I'd like to cut that down to under $1,000, but if we did $1,000, I'd be fine with that too. So that's my goal there, and I think that is a very reasonable goal. Like we could do very well under $1,000. And then for the most part, we stayed at each campground around a week. Some were like for 5 days. And then I had 2 days where I overlapped campgrounds in terms of we were somewhere It was not working out. It was not a good environment. And I talked about that in the last Journeys video, where it was just like a nightmare for a week. So that camp wasn't working out, but we already paid for it. So we left early and came to a different campground. So I had overlapping prices, and those nights overall for 2 campgrounds, it was $111. So that really bumped me up too. Our next expense is the horse feed and supplies. And so all of this was purchased from Tractor Supply. We are not sponsored by them in any way. The only reason we shop at Tractor Supply is because it's the only farm store that is like across the country that we can easily access. And another important piece of that is we can get the same grain and feed for the horses, so we're not having to constantly change their diet. So all of these expenses come from Tractor Supply. From September 2nd to October 2nd, we spent $338 at Tractor Supply. And I should have broken this down a little bit because the majority of that is horse feed. And then shavings is probably the second thing. Like if you are staying at private campgrounds and you have a stall, you have to provide your own shavings. And with 2 horses, you go through shavings pretty fast, especially when you have a super messy 2-year-old, okay? So I go through shavings really fast. And then I know we had to go buy a sewer hookup because we didn't have one. So luckily we won't have to do that this month. And then we had to get some extra like medical supplies for the horses. So we shouldn't have to do that again. Total, we spent $338. And if I could limit any of this, like I said, we won't have to pay for those miscellaneous purchases, but we can definitely limit our shavings, our bedding for the horses, and that would simply be by staying at campgrounds where the horses have more like a little paddock or a pen or things like that, compared to like where they're in a stall and you're having to put shavings in there over and over and over again. That can quickly add up. So I think we can definitely reduce that number. Right now, a bag of feed. So I feed the horses beet pulp, alfalfa, and a senior feed grain. I also got them a supplement of like coconut oil for their gut and electrolytes, but I haven't had them on the coconut oil or the electrolytes because they have been fine and their personalities have been great, and so I think they're good. They've been drinking a lot of water. I think I go just under 2 weeks per bag. I should only have to replace my feed like once in the middle of the month. And honestly, I probably am overfeeding the horses a little bit. Like I always make sure there's hay in front of them. And then I feed them 3 times a day. I bet a lot of you are like, yeah, you're overfeeding them. With Ruach, he's a 2-year-old. He has a very high metabolism. Like he looks great weight-wise right now. It's just to where you can like barely see his ribs. And he's a very like wide set horse too, so I think that's part of it. I would not want him to get any thinner. I think he looks great right now. And it's just like, if you see him at certain angles, you'll be able to see his ribs a little bit, but otherwise, he looks great. Tucker's great. I don't think he needs to eat as much, and he doesn't eat as much. Like, he doesn't eat as much hay, so I don't put hay in his stall until he finishes what he has. So I definitely think I could cut down on that bill a little bit, or just extend my grain. Like, I think if I am going for weight, I feed more beet pulp instead of alfalfa, just things like that. My hay fee was not a part of that feed and supplies. Overall, for my hay, I spent $245 for the month. I don't think that's going to change. And that's mainly because I realized once we got started, is like the horses are rarely ever going to have access to grass. Like they're always going to be on hay. Unless you're kind of like primitive camping and you have your electric fence set up and then they can graze. But it's probably not going to be enough to where it can sustain them. So I will always need to be getting hay. Looking at my calendar, I replenished hay twice. I usually go for a bale or just under a bale a day for 2 horses. Like I said, they're 13 hands, so they eat a lot less resources than big horses. The hay price is definitely going to depend on where you are. So a lot of us know, like, the southern East Coast was in a drought for all summer, and so they don't have a good hay supply right now. So when we were in West Virginia, I spent $10 a bale. And I usually get like 15 bales. That's what we can fit in the back of our trailer. That was $10 a bale, 15 bales, $150. We were just at another camp in New York, and we replenished hay. Those bales were really, really nice bales, only for $5. And so 15 for $5, that was $75. You can see how that matches up, but we will always have to be replenishing hay. It is a little stressful to have to find hay. Luckily, some of the campgrounds have had it for sale and we get it there. But if all else fails, you can get it from feed stores in like compressed bales. They're just really expensive. They're like 27 bucks a bale. So hopefully we won't have to do that anytime soon. So overall, hay was $245. So when you travel full time with horses and you're going into other states, you have to have a health certificate for your horses. And it basically just says what shots they have. It says that they're healthy. It's like approved by a vet, all those things. Certain states have different requirements. So in some states, you need it every 30 days. In other states, it's every 6 months, and you can just travel through with the 6-month certificate. I haven't done the 6-month certificate because I need to research it first of all. I need to find a vet who will do it, and then it's not always accepted yet. So I don't know if I will do the 6-month certificate. Anyway, we stopped about the middle of the month to renew our health certificate. We stopped at a vet in West Virginia. They charged us so much money. First of all, they charged me a $200 like appointment deposit where like they held my appointment for $200. I thought I was going to get refunded for that, but no, I didn't. And once I got there and did everything, because I went to the facility to avoid a vet call to a farm or a campground, drove my horses there, the health certificate is $35. So I ended up not getting refunded for the $200 deposit. I guess that actually went towards the bill, which is insane to me. That was so expensive. It should not cost that much. So overall, I spent $239 at the vet. So I have a vet appointment coming up to renew again in the middle of October. We will be in a different state, first of all, and I did not pay a deposit fee. And so we're going to go to the vet, and we'll see how much it costs. Like I said, $238. It should not be that expensive. So that was definitely an increase in our bill. All right, diesel for the truck. We have a Ford F-350, and we're pulling this giant thing, so our gas mileage is not very good at all. Overall, for diesel, we spent $439 for the month, which looking back is not that bad. I thought it would be way more. I thought we were always getting diesel. And I think we can definitely cut this number down by, number one, staying longer at campgrounds. Our average was staying like 5 days to a week at each campground, except for our layover campgrounds. Number two, not traveling as far. So this first month, we traveled a really far way. So we started in West Virginia. Then we traveled up to New York. We had a layover. We had 2 layovers in the middle. And then we went over to the east side of New York. Well, kind of like the east. Then we came back and came into Ohio. And so we've driven probably over 1,500 miles this month. I would say probably 2,000, honestly. We can definitely reduce that by staying in one place longer and not traveling as far. Hindsight 2020, looking back, I'm glad we came up to New York, because if we would have stayed where we were or gone where we initially planned, which was North Carolina, Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, we would have been hit by the hurricane. I think that was God watching out for us, because we completely missed that. We did get a little bit of rain up in New York, but it was nothing compared to what they got there. Like, it flooded. Even in my hometown, luckily there wasn't too much damage, but I know they had a lot of flooding. That was a grace moment. Am I happy that we traveled that far? Price-wise, no. But health and life-wise, yes. And I just think about like how stressful that would have been to be stuck in the middle of a hurricane with horses. Ugh. So that said, we would like to get up to New York. We traveled all day, stayed at a layover, traveled all the next day, stayed at a layover, traveled all the next day. And so, you know, you rack up miles that way and you rack up diesel fuel. Overall, like I said, $439. We're going to definitely cut that in half, hopefully. We have one more big travel stretch happening tomorrow. But then after that, we can kind of slow ourselves down a little bit. I don't know where we're going to go yet, because our original goal is we're in Ohio now. We're going to come back down and go into North Carolina, Tennessee, that whole area. But now all the parks are closed because of the hurricanes and the destruction that's happened. So we need to figure out where we're going next. Our last expense was on food and eating out. And this one shocked me, because I thought we had done pretty good. But apparently not. So overall, on food and eating out, we spent $951 for the month, which is crazy. And so I think what happened, our grocery bill, first of all, is about $125 a week. So that's $500 for the month, which is reasonable. But then every time we came back into civilization, because sometimes our campground was way out in the middle of nowhere. So every time we came back into civilization, we would go out to eat or get like Dunkin' Donuts or, you know, just things like that. And so that really added up. Anytime we traveled, when we stopped at our rest area, we would get lunch. And so that really raised that bill. I mean, that's $450 that would have been spent just on eating out, which is insane. So we're going to make a goal that we only eat out like twice a month, you know, a little treat ourselves, and we could save a lot of money that way. So overall, like I said, our budget was $4,014. I am highly confident in our abilities to do this for around $2,500 a month. Now, I could be crazy, but we will see. I'd like to test that over this next month. We do have a private campground set up for a week this month, but if we can get the rest as like state campgrounds, we should be pretty good. I wanted to show y'all my little budget tracker thing. So I screenshotted the month, and then I actually keep track of it like per day, which makes it super easy. And then I can like plan ahead too, because usually I book campgrounds in advance. And so I'll be able to see like, okay, coming up, we're camping this much. And then I have like the days we spent on hay, the days we spent on diesel. And then I keep my totals right here. That was a pretty nifty way to track it. Let me show you October so you can kind of see how it plans ahead. So this is for October. So you can see like we're here on the 4th, but I already know like these days are going to be a little bit more expensive for camping. Like it's $55 a night. And so then I can keep track too, because we're about to be traveling. I can keep track of our diesel. We're about to replenish on hay. So if you're like, man, these people are in over their heads, I want to support them financially, but I don't know how. Well, checking out our Etsy store is a win-win. This is one of our Etsy shirts. This is my ultimate favorite, like the sweatshirt. I would say it's kind of like a lightweight sweatshirt. It fits to size. Like this fit me perfectly. Very cozy, comfy. I wear this like multiple days in a row, and then it gets so dirty I have to wash it. But this is a more funny one, trail riding. But we have like Bible verse ones. We have ones like geared towards horse riding specifically. We have these funny horse ones where we take horse words. There's like a dead broke one. There's a buddy sour one, or a barn sour. So you can check these out. The link is in the description. And like I said, you get something in return. We get blessed. It's a win-win for everyone. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video was really helpful. Like I said, for those interested in doing what we do, I want to show you how we do it. So that was our first month on the road. We will work on this and try and get it cleaned up and better for next time. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos.